Pastor Grace. Am I missing one? They're all in there. Pastor French, I love your bag. It shows me you are fully prepared. Fully prepared. Come on, give it up for them. Give it up for them. Now, I think I have my first question that I thought I have to ask myself. I don't know if I have my envelope here, but I need to ask that question myself. Okay. So let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Now, as I said, we're going to involve the audience a lot. On point, Bible-based, at times, wisdom will give you what to say. You want to be on point. Now, let me be clear. We can't answer every question. You understand? Brother Zach, can you take off the pictures, please? We can't answer every question, but we will do our best to learn. Is that okay? Bishop gave me a great idea, and we're going to do it the next time. But today, we're going to follow the way that we have planned. Now, my first question goes to Reverend KK. Pastor, the question is, we all believe that marriage was instituted by God, correct? Does it mean that every marriage that is being performed at the altar has God's approval? Now, if the answer is yes, God's hands is in every marriage that comes to the altar, why so many issues in marriage? If the answer is no, that God is not every marriage that comes to the altar has God's approval, if the answer is no, then those marriages that God's hands is not in it, but it was performed at the altar, who is to be blamed? Is it the pastor who blessed it? Is it the groom? Or is it the bride? Please.
Can I have a microphone, please?
Yes, please. Brother Zach, we need one mic.
Yes.
No, more than one mic, please. Give me about 2 mics here, please. We can use one mic here and there. Okay, so please, be quick and give me about 2 mics.
It's a blessing to be here. Amen.
Amen.
I don't know why I wore a jacket today. If you know me, I am not a jacket type. This is the first time I've worn a suit and I hope I look fine. This is the first time since I came around here. In my country, I won't wear it because it's warm already. Friends, I intentionally brought this because sometimes you church people make everything about God. Forgive me, I am not here to follow status quo.
That's okay.
We need to face it as it is.
Yes.
You church people create the problem for the people who are going to marry. I asked someone, who says matrimony is an African culture or a Caribbean culture? Matrimony, if you don't know, matrimony is bringing the marriage to the altar. Bringing the marriage to the priest. And who says that's a Christian culture? Show me in the Bible. Show me. What am I trying to insinuate? Not every marriage is instituted by God. That is why right from the beginning God said, what God has joined together. And you and I agree that some relationships were put together by parents.
By friends.
By friends. By lust. I've answered your question. Have I?
I like it.
No. Okay, let's expatiate a bit. Not every marriage that comes to church is created by God. Let me give you a scenario. You date, you have sex, you conceive, and you bring it. Not all of them are coming from God. Somebody will quote a scripture that among the Jews, if somebody slept with a child or a woman, and the person takes seed, that person should marry that person. I came to announce to you that was a punishment.
That's true.
It was a punishment. Your punishment for impregnating that girl was to take care of the girl. That was the punishment. It is not an institution. Let's go back and check. It's in the Levitical law. It was punishment. I said again, you church people have created that problem. So a lady wants to do white, you call it white wedding, right? You want to wear the gown at every cost. One of my biggest problems is what you put on your head, the mosquito net. You want the guy to unveil the net. Meanwhile, he is seeing even the bone.
I read. You see it.
So which one are you talking about? Which one are you talking about? The one which is true. That you've really taken time off to wait and prepare. Or the one which you've not just tasted, eating the entree and finish the dessert. I don't know if I answered your question.
Come on, give it up. Give it up. Please, any panel that want to weigh in on this can take, please. Brother Zach, I'm still waiting for another mic.
Good evening, everyone. I think I'll agree with my brother to a great extent, or to most of what he has said. And in addition to that, yes, and certainly, not every marriage God's hands are in. Not ever. And we have faced these questions, or this particular question, from time to time. When persons ask, okay, so Pastor, what's happening? My marriage is falling apart. And I'm a Christian, my husband is a Christian, and so forth. And it's like, I said to many persons that marriage is dead long time. You're living together like tenants in the same room. And so when it reaches that point, would we say that God was to be blamed, the pastor was to be blamed? Not sure about that. If we look at quite quickly, and as my brother said, in terms of those who may have taken the marriage to the altar, if you look at Genesis chapter 24, verse 67, then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. What am I saying here? There's some persons who are of the notion that you take a woman and call her your wife and ask God's blessings. But that's not the case, as it is saying here. It is simply saying that allow God to lead you to each other. And then you will experience God's hands in your marriage.
Okay, so Pastor, I'll follow a question to that now. Now that you have been married and you come to this understanding that, boy, it looked like God never had nothing to do with it, what do you do? You said you used the term living like tenants?
In the same house.
In the same house. What
Yes.
do we do?
Okay. Now, one of the things we'll have to go back to the beginning of the relationship. There are many marriages that do exist out of situations. Whether it was one who was in need of something and someone came to the rescue, and then they just figure that well, yes, let's get married. Pregnancy again, we talk about the church people. Sometimes a young lady gets pregnant and the church says that, listen, you have to marry him.
Punishment.
And so forth. Punishment. So they are not able to really exercise the true love that ought to be there from the initial stage, because not every, we don't have any children inside here, not every sexual intercourse that takes place between a young man and a young woman have love in it. It may just be for a moment of pleasure, time to have some good time, and at the end of it, probably whether the parent or the family of either party is of certain upstanding within the community, then persons might believe that, hey, you're going to bring disgrace on the family, so just marry and let it look good, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that love is there. And some then persons sometimes, they enter a relationship, they claim that they love each other, and they may be going on for a period of time, they get married, children come in play and so forth, and then the marriage dies and they stay together for other reasons. Some may stay together for the children's sake, some may stay together because they have investments together, some may stay together because they have built a life together and would not want to go through the courts to separate them. Some may just stay together because society is going to pressure them. And so they live that life constantly. But the marriage has died a long time ago.
So my question is, what can be done? I know you said that, but suppose you want to make a decision. Is it okay then, let me go straight for, to just get a divorce? Is it okay? And that, I think we have a question.
Yes, so if you believe that, well, okay, or the person believes that at the end of this, we ain't going anywhere. And in terms of, for your emotional health, for your psychological health, and for your physical health, because the emotional and the psychological will later on affect you physically. Because in this aspect, there will be no sexual contact, there will be nothing, you're lying there and it's like nothing is happening, you're dead, dead, dead. So what happens is that you just decide that, do I continue in this or do I move out for health, psychologically, mentally, and physically?
Okay. Mr. please weigh in.
I also just wanted to add to that. To me, when that question was asked, is marriage, you also have to look at it as a Christian as it's a form of, it's like salvation. You can be saved today, but you have to work on your salvation. Just because you get married, it doesn't end there. You have to work on your marriage. So, is divorce always the right way to go? Not always. Taking the time, working on it is how, looking at yourself, not just looking at the partner, but looking at what are you doing wrong? Yes. Because you cannot change your partner, as our sister said earlier on. Only God can change your partner. But what are you doing? As a woman, am I being humbled in this marriage? Am I listening? Or am I always talking? So pretty much, yes, you can be married today, just like salvation, yes, you are saved. But as a child of God, you have to work on your marriage each and every single day. Marriage doesn't just happen. I've been married by the grace of God for 12 years. My husband and I have been together for 14 years. We've had our ups and downs. But I say that with prayers and keep working at it. You have to intentionally work at it if you want a see progress. Amen.
Okay. I'm going to move, like I said, the main question was marriages that come to the altar, if it has God approval or not. I just want to move quick back to the audience, okay? If you took one of the papers, okay, please, all the papers finished, or we still have some, Pastor George?
They're finished.
They are finished, okay. People that have the communication, so look at the back of your envelope. If you have one, please stand up and brother, bring the mic and let him ask the question quick. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Please, is on the question?
No, on the same, this topic. Are you come off of it?
Yes, please. I have to, because that was the main question that we wanted to know. When time, believe me, we will let you bounce back. And we want to be on time so we can ask a lot of questions. Okay, so just bear with me. Please, anybody have the communication one? Okay, please stand and read if you can for me. Thank you. Okay, and please listen, and I'll point one of the panels to answer.
How big of a role does communication plays in marriage?
Pastor Rowe, how big of a role communication plays in marriage?
Okay. God bless you all. Now, communication is the key, the root of a successful marriage. Everything after comes under communication. Finance, sexual intimacy, everything comes under communication. You have to communicate. You have to reason with one another. You have to know what your partner doesn't love, what your partner doesn't like. Communication covers everything. If you really check it out, is that the marriage that are successful is that they are good communicators. Without communicators, the marriage going to stumble. You don't know the way you're supposed to think. You have to reason to know what you're supposed to love for what they don't love. You have to reason about finances. You have to budget together. The hardest thing in a marriage life is when you buy something that you can't afford. And it doesn't matter how much you're in love. And when the bill man comes knocking on the door and your phone is ringing and you don't have the money to pay, marriage turn bitter. You get me? So communication is the key. You have to communicate. Darling, can I afford this? You have to, communicate, reason. One with another, you have to reason. You can't just sit down like dummy. Not knowing what your partner is thinking, not knowing, how to approach problems and situations. Communication is the key of your marriage. It's the root of your marriage.
Pastor Grace. Okay, Wayne. I think you want to say something.
Good night, everyone. And as Pastor Rose says, communication is a key. There has to be an atmosphere for safety when it comes to communication. So us understanding, because communication is huge, and so there are 4 different ways of communicating. So if we're communicating, everyone knows the 4 different ways of communicating?
I think you should.
Yes? Okay. So there is passive communication, there is aggressive communication, there is passive-aggressive communication, and then there's assertive communication. Communication is key. A successful marriage has assertive communication. Assertive communication is when both needs are being met in their marriage. So those 2 individuals, your needs are always going to be met. But you have safety in that being assertive to say, this is what my needs are, and your needs are being respected. Okay, so it's understanding the 4 different styles of communication, because a lot of times communication and the relationship breaks down because we're not communicating effectively.
Okay. Mr. Cake, you want to please weigh in?
Can I? Yes,
Yes.
Let's bring it down.
Keep this mic here.
You remember a man in the Bible called, a prophet in the Bible called Zechariah? You remember his wife? Who is his wife? Elizabeth. Remember, the man got dumb at the point. You remember?
Yes.
But you remember also that when their son was being named, he was still dumb.
Yes.
You remember that? And that when it got to the time of naming the child, the woman brought out a strange name. You remember? You also remember that that dumb man wrote that same strange name. I hope you remember that.
Yes, yes.
What am I trying to say? Even dumb people can communicate. Even the dumb Zachariah could communicate a strange name to the wife. That name has never been in the family before. But there was a way. Again, in every communication system, in marriage, there's nothing called equality in marriage. That is what I think. I told you, some of the things I would say, you would not have to agree with me.
It's all right.
What is important in marriage, especially communicating in marriage, is to be vulnerable.
Amen.
Vulnerability in marriage, in communicating in marriage. What is vulnerability in communicating in marriage? Can I hurt him? So, can I tone down? Am I saying the right words? Am I choosing well? Is it because I've lived with him all this while I can talk to him anyhow? Or the other part? I'm not sure he meant what he said. Maybe he's under a kind of stress. Vulnerability. Not holding your own, but becoming like the egg in your enemy's hands. And so you take time. Sometimes in today's world, we communicate holding our rights. It's I, me. In marriage, Paul says, let the man hear that your body does not belong to you. And let the woman hear that your body does not belong to you. And so in our relating, in our talking, in our tweeting, in our texting, in our trying to talk aloud in the midst of a crowd, let's ask ourselves, how well am I building my man or my woman? You might be right, but your body doesn't belong to you. So if your body belongs to the other partner, ask yourself, if I treat him like that, what is he going to do with my body that is with him?
My God.
Pastor KK, not to carry you off.
Wow.
Okay? This is awesome, and I love the setting. Now, we have follow-ups, okay, on these things. Before I do that, let me see people with a communication question, please. If you have one, lift up your hands. Let me see. Exactly. Okay, so I have only two. Excellent. Three. Okay, communication. If you have communication question, lift up your hands. I just want to see how many people. Okay, one. Please, can you lift up your hands? And let me know if your envelopes at the back say COMM. Right. Okay, if it's not, don't lift up your hands. Okay, excellent. So we have only two more. Okay, my sister, go ahead, because it's still under the same topic. Go ahead.
Some women, based on their cultural belief that man should be the sole breadwinner of the family. What is your take on that?
Okay, come again.
Some women, based on their cultural...
Can you put a mic?
Some women, based on their cultural believe that man should be the sole breadwinner of the family.
Okay, I think I might have put the wrong question in the wrong envelope. Okay, Brother Douglas, you go ahead with your question. Let's see what you have. I will come back to you. I think this falls under finance. Right. Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, maybe this one's finance too.
Read it, Danny.
Okay, that's fine. I just read it.
This one says, I am an asset to my church, married for 15 years. I run my own business, and by the grace of God, it has been a successful one. I can boldly say that the success of that business is by the hand of God and my hard work. not a single help from my spouse. He or she was not even interested at all when it all began. He or she seemed to enjoy it now. I was at a public event, and I was asked that behind every successful man there is a woman. Was that the case of this business? I responded no, because I knew my spouse did not help. I did not want to lie, and at the same time, I did not want to demean her. Was it a good answer?
Yes, so I still categorize it under communication, okay? So let it be clear. The person had a nice business, no help from the spouse. Down the road, he was at a public event, and they asked every successful man, there is a woman. And the person responded no, because he or she knew that the spouse didn't help. So the question is, the way he communicated, was it the right way to have done that? He said no, because in his mind or in her mind, knew that there was no help from the spouse. He or she did the right thing by saying yes. And if the answer is right, just give your take. Now, I will push this question back to Bishop. Bishop, go for us. You have a business, Sister Rita never helped you. Let's assume that. You knew it. There was no help from Sister Rita. The business has been very successful. You went to a public event and somebody asked you that every successful man, there is a woman. You knew that there was no help from Sister Rita. Your answer was no. It was the hand of God and my hard work. The question is it right for you to say that? And because the question was, he said that because he knew there was no help from Sister Rita. But at the same time, he didn't want to demean Sister Rita. So tell me your take on this story.
In the successful business,
They can't stand. Turn around to see them, Bishop. Turn around to see them, sir.
it is not a must. It's not
Yes, it is.
quite possible she may not help in that particular business, right? But she helped otherwise as a helpmate, right? So if she forfeit in that one business, said, well, no, I'm not gonna help you, quite possibly she may not understand fully the direction in which I'm going. But if I explain it probably, in a more technical way, a more understandable way for her to understand that, listen, this is a business I'm putting together, and this is what I'm doing, and that is what I'm doing, try to convince her. Then she'll be able to come to the knowledge of what I'm doing. And then she'll be able to join me, but if she don't know exactly what I'm doing and the route I'm taking, then she will forfeit. So I wouldn't blame her, said because she did not really help me in this.
Was it right for you to answer no to the question?
No.
Why?
Explanation.
Why?
It needs explanation. It all depends on how you communicate with the person.
So though you knew that there was no help from your spouse, but it's still not appropriate for you to answer no.
The reason why I believe the person would not help you, because they did not have the proper communication.
Right.
Right? The person did not have the full knowledge of where the direction in which you're going. Right? So the person, well, especially if the person is afraid, right? Because a lot of people, when it comes to money and when it comes to finance, people is afraid, right? People are afraid to put their money out. So definitely, if they don't know the direction in which you're going, they will say, no, I'm not going to invest in that. Right? So even though they don't, help you financially, then they still help you.
Okay. One advice, Pastor Ron, come in. One advice from each panel. Each panel, what advice? Very simple, I don't need much explanation. One advice you will give to couples here for their communication skills to grow, or the communication within the marriage stay strong. One advice. please, the mic from Sister Nadine. Pastor Ron, come. Maybe through that you can say whatever you want to say. One advice you will give to a couples for their communication to stay strong.
One advice that I will give is that pretty much you want to talk to your partner at all times. And I know usually people will say that we don't have time because of the kids, because of work and all that, but you have to make the time. And that could be just a quick text, even if you'll be at work. Like, how are you, how's everything? Taking 1 minute just to talk to your partner, to find out how the day is going. To me, that is the key. Like, I try to do that on a regular basis, every single day. Like, every hour or two, we're always going to communicate with each other. So it has to be regular.
Wonderful.
Under the aspect of communication too, then you have the big C, compromise. It may seem as if, well, you might be giving up your rights, but at the same time, there has to be a compromise in a relationship for it to work. And in the aspect of communication, there might be verbal communication, there might be non-verbal communication. So one has to know their partner and to know how to communicate with them whilst compromising. Sometimes you need someone to forgive you. You also need to offer that forgiveness.
Wonderful. One advice.
We have to remember that commitment to marriage is a process. And so communication, again, is key. And so just simple things. Leave a note in their lunch bag if you pack your husband's lunch in the morning. Just so when he opens up his lunch bag, he sees a lovely note from you and you were thinking about him, because sometimes our days go where we're not able to get connected, where our breaks are not the same. But you can also connect with your husband by just leaving a love note.
Listen, my wife, I will try to leave a note, okay? Because she goes to work, you know me, I do my own, right? She wakes up and do her own food. So I will try to slot a note there from now, okay? I love that. Trust me, I love that.
You see, with situation like that, there's a breakdown in communication. It should be like this, that whatever, even if you're a businessman and the wife doesn't, you know, it's a unit together. It's a unit together. And it's that both of you should really work together. And that should not really come up. That shouldn't even come up. It's that we are wife and husband and we become one. So whatever you achieve, it's hers. Whatever you know she achieved, it's mine. You know, and so we should so unite together that doesn't happen. You get what I mean? It is that we are one. We're supposed to be one. All right? And whatever you achieve, man, you know, it's for both of us. No separation. Not what you earn and what, you know, I earn and what she earn, you know, but it is for us to be one unit, you know, together, say the same thing. No division. Say the same thing. That's what it's all about.
Pastor Frank.
Unity.
That's right. Good job.
One advice for strong communication.
I guess I am going to be the dumb man now by speaking, because I noticed that everybody get 2 times on me. Let me greet my brethren. You know. All right. No. No. Let me greet the audience and everyone. I'm glad to be in this debate. It's a wonderful thing. I listen carefully, and I think after a time, Job starts speaking, you know, and he dispel all the doubts and everything, and he brings forth his points, and that's a good thing. And marriage, it is important to know what marriage is the first thing. who instituted it and the purpose of it. The devil put in his piece too, and that creates the problem.
That's right.
And we have to always bear that in mind. And as we look through the whole thing, everything based on communication. If Adam was communicating properly, he would never be in that problem that she gets herself. There's a lack of communication. I don't know if the man did even tell the woman that won't touch that. Because there's a record of him purposefully pointing out that you see that tree, stay away from it. Maybe he have it in mind. But that time the woman touched and trouble was made already. So communication is the key. I heard Pastor wrote talk about the tree and the vine and the purpose of communication. And I think dropped through me that communication for me, as I would look at it, it is the substance that the tree draw from the earth and drive through the entire body to sustain the tree. Without that juice being in it, the leaf going to fall off, the fruit not going to come to fruition. And there's a lot of things. That's, for me, that's communication. And along with communication, sir, I'm going to add three things to it.
Right.
L-P-L.
All right.
Love, patience, and listen. Love, patience, and listen. Love covers a multitude of sins that the men are always prone to rush to. Sometimes the ladies take the lead too. So we have to know when to love, how to love, and how deep love should always go. Because love covers the multitude of sin. Patience. Patience is to have patience in all situations and do a rush to judgment. The other one is learn to listen. Sometimes the person is hurting, they will not even listen. Listen here in silence. It's amazing. If we learn to listen, we hear the hurt through the silence of the person. Some couples, they break down, our marriage break down because sometimes the man don't listen. Sometimes the woman that you married to not listening because she have a better job than the man or she's in a higher position and nobody listen to each other. We're taking marriage in a general sense, and it is important for everybody to learn and to know what marriage is all about. It is important to know that even God who instituted to show us his purpose towards us. I'm going to draw one quick thing and show you what marriage is quickly. When the disciples went away, when Jesus...
Okay, 2 minutes, Pastor French. 2 minutes for you.
Less.
Less.
When Jesus was raised from the dead, the disciples went back to fishing. But out of love, he came back and bring them to him. Every time we go away, love will find a way to bring the marriage back together. God bless you.
Reverend KK, one advice for a strong communication, because I have to move quickly. Listen to me. From 8 o'clock going, you're going to ask your own question. So I want to ask as many as we can, because believe me, I promise you, and I'm going to let you do it. Okay? And Pastor Sue is going to take over from that. Okay? So I have some questions that I want to ask. So quick, and we move that now. People with the questions of intimacy, get ready. You hear me? That is the most part that is interesting. Okay, so please get your questions ready, and you lift up your hands, then you ask.
I'll say two things within this short while. Two. The world is a serious place. We are in a very serious, very fast world. You're talking about communication. I'm talking about serious world. We take so many light things too seriously. So what I'm trying to say is that, can you play with your spouse?
All right.
When was the last time you played with your spouse? Played like a kid. We are in a very serious world. So serious.
Yes.
We are complicating little things.
Reverend J.K., can you hold for 1 minute? Can you hold for
Let me just say my last word.
You want to go play and come?
You wanted to go play and come.
You want to go play and come?
We don't play. So, play like a kid.
Yes.
We are too serious sometimes about nothing.
Okay.
2, the last one. If you watch children playing, children should trust. They show a lot of trust to their playmates. Can you trust your partner? Trust your partner. You are too serious. Just play and trust him. Communication is done.
Okay, I have a follow-up. Please, but be quick. Listen to me about the play. You understand? I'm going to give you an example with me and my wife. You understand? There are times, it's on Sunday morning, Shakira, we're getting ready to church, and at times we're late. You understand what I'm saying? And Phyllis goes in the mirror and dressed and everything. Then I'm running late, Bishop. She will come. Hey, can we dance? Dance for what? I'm running late. Listen, Bishop Clark wants to know my wife, so can you stand, please? You know what I'm saying? Listen, at times the time is off. But Phyllis will come and say, okay, can we dance? Dance for what? I'm running late. Okay. On that instant, listen, let me give you one example, okay? A friend of mine, he's in Mississauga, and told me this story. He said, Pastor, at times I come back from work and I'm so stressed and a lot of things, and my wife will come and put her hand there and say, oh honey, I love you, right? He said, to be honest, at times I'm not ready to say I love you. From his perspective, he feels that he want to say genuinely to the lady. So when he told me that, I said, listen, at least even if you don't mean it, she won't know, so say it. That's tough. At times, believe me, you saying this about playing, maybe I have to dance for her to, realize that I'm really into it, but I'm not into it. You know what I'm saying? Now, listen, I love that, but what I want to ask is, in that instant, believe you me, I'm running late. Believe me, Phyllis is that kind of a person. Listen, she will come and say, listen, let's dance for what? At times I'm so hungry and, you know what I'm saying? But listen to me, I want to learn and make your marriage a successful one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Little things with ladies, it catches them fast. Right? But I want to know in that instance, running to church, being late. So, should I just dance and make her happy?
Yes. I think from the onset, I said something earlier. We are so serious about so many things. And we pastors are guilty. Running, especially when you're going to drive. Can you imagine? It was you who picked her dress the day before, or helped her pick the dress the day before, and you're very late. Watching her in the mirror, said, wow, that's nice. But you think we are late. Do you know what you'll do the next time? We take a lot of things so seriously. When was the last time you helped your wife dress up? When was the last time you looked for daddy's pair of socks? Just his pair of socks. And told daddy, I think today your pants will go with that pair of socks. When was the last time? We are so serious. I said we are all guilty. And we go back to play games. Okay. See, in that instance, you are angry. And so when you come and sit in the car, where is the Holy Spirit? You are so seriously driving to church. You come and you lift holy hands, and God is laughing.
Okay, thank you. Listen. Okay, people with intimacy with sheep, please lift up your hands. Let me see. Okay, Sam. Please bring the mic. Hold on. My time is up. Pastor Stewart will take over soon. Then maybe from 8:15 is your time to ask your own questions. Okay? Okay, Sam, go ahead. Please. Be ready. Pastor Stewart, be ready. Some questions is coming. Okay, and I'll point one person to answer.
Use acceptable reason for divorce. That is including physical, verbal, psychological, and emotional.
Okay, Sam, hold on to your question for now. Believe me, I'll come back to you. Okay, Sister Patient, ask the question for me. I said intimacy. Okay, so what at the back of your envelope? Okay, go ahead.
Too much.
Sorry?
It's too much.
Okay,
If
please
you're
stand, please, humbly, and speak louder. Okay, speak like a Frenchman. Okay?
Is it too much if your husband wants sex 6 times in a week? Is it too much if your husband wants sex 6 times in a week?
Okay, listen, the people sitting in front here, I see them as my back panel. Okay? Bishop Clark, I will pick on you. Is it too much for a husband to ask for intimacy 6 times in a week? Is it too much?
Well,
Yes. Is it too much? Just your take. Is it too much?
So, what I want to understand is how does the woman feel? How does the woman feel that is?
Please, can we be a little quiet so we can hear? Go ahead, Pastor.
Because I need to understand from the perspective of what the woman is feeling at that moment. Is she okay with it or is she not okay with it? Right. Because I think that is really where the most important thing is. Is she okay with it or does she think it's a little too much?
Ask the woman.
So I'm asking a question with a question because if you get that answer, then you will, from that perspective, I always believe you always have to take into consideration the other person's feelings. That's the number one thing, right? It is compromise. We talk about communication. It goes back to communication.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in our society, and one of the things in doing marriages, premarital counseling will solve a lot of these issues that we're all talking about. Because that will...
I don't mean to cut you, but I feel like you're trying to give me the politically correct answer.
No, I'm not giving you...
You want to know, is it too much?
Well, I can't because based on the question, I need to go from, does the woman, because in that question, she's not saying she's against it, she's only asking, is it too much? So you cannot generalize because every person is different. One couple, one woman, even though she may say that, at the end of the day, she may be okay with it. Another instance, another woman may not be okay with it, and it can be the flip side. Maybe the woman may want 6 times, and the man may not be okay with it. So you have to know, in order to answer that question correctly, you got to understand what is the other person's feelings. Are they okay with it, or are they not? So you're the woman then. You tell me. Yes.
That's what we want to hear.
I can't answer that. Because everybody has. Hold on. Can I go deeper? Everybody has a different appetite.
I know that.
So you have to know so is that woman okay with it or not? Answer that.
The question is, I still want to
Listen, he's the first person to respond. So just let him respond.
I'm looking for. I know that it matters what the woman is thinking, but sometimes men don't think about that.
Exactly.
You understand? So I am saying from that perspective of whether the man thinks about the woman, yes or no, is it okay?
But I will be honest with you, I totally understand from where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
So as he can't go directly to say it's too much or it's not too much.
Because
he wants to know.
Because some women have as much of appetite as some men.
Okay, let's hold on quick. Let's hold on.
I can't just...
Listen, I totally understand from where he's coming from, right? I'm coming. Totally understand. Because I said, he can easily say yes, or he can easily say no. But he wants to know, how does the other partner feel if it... Listen to me, there are some ladies, they have power. You hear me? They don't care if they can go 7 days in a week, right? So he's coming from that angle. Like, he doesn't know whether, like the lady is okay with it or not. But that's fine. It's understandable. Pastor Richie, tell me, what do you think? Is it too much? As I said, we have other questions. We have other questions, and they are, believe me, they're going to weigh in. Okay? So please go ahead.
You know, the Bible said that you mustn't deny your husband, and the husband mustn't deny the wife, unless they agree that whatever, for a period of time. Unless they agree for a period of time, like for example, fasting, or she's ministrating or whatever, right? But otherwise, the Bible says she must not deny her husband, and her husband must not deny her. So if he wants it 6 times a week, you give him 6 times a week. If she wants it, it's supposed to be the same thing in return. But then, though, I guess we're too serious, right? But nothing is wrong with it. Nothing is wrong with it.
Listen, I want to be clear, okay?
Nothing is wrong.
I want to be clear here. If you are here and uncomfortable with this, I'm sorry, you are the wrong place.
Yeah.
But we're not going to hold anything back. We want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Listen to me. I love that.
Nothing is wrong with it. Yeah.
I love that.
Fine.
I want to give a little bit more chance to win. As I said, all what I want to know is it too much?
Yeah. Nothing is wrong. It's very healthy. I'll tell you, one of the things science has proven that it's very healthy. The more you have sex, the healthier your heart is.
I want to add something to what Pastor Richard said. And he said if the individual wanted 6, the wife should be prepared, or it should be the reverse. If the wife wanted 6, the husband must be prepared. Now, what I'm going to say for the younger folks, the older folks is running down, so they may just go a little less. This is open. Come on. We're big here. So, if you even see him 1 6 and you can give number 7, give him 7. And if you can put him in, so you override him every time. Do you like my answer now? Hey, I love you.
I want to ask a question. Hi, folks. Let me just ask before we proceed. I beg. Please.
Are we not making sex a task?
It shouldn't be working.
Instead of a fun.
So what's the business with?
Play with it.
Too much.
If you keep playing, if you keep having fun,
is that too much fun?
No, there's not too much.
I'm asking.
Are we not making sex a task?
It shouldn't be.
A duty? And is it supposed to be a duty? Is it supposed to be a task?
Okay. Rosie, listen, 10 minutes, then you come, okay?
Come on, no.
Yes, go ahead.
This comes back to what my advice. I'm hearing all of this. Don't get me wrong. I'm hearing all of this. But what if that person is sick? Like I'm hearing all of it. But what if that person is sick and they're something and they're proof?
Okay.
They want. I'm sorry. They will. And so this is why you have to communicate. Make the parameters, and there must first be a communication. That is why I asked, what is the other person thinking?
Listen. I believe.
Are they not well?
Please watch me. Every sensible person in marriage knows that your wife is sick.
Exactly.
Come on. You won't do that. That's what I'm saying? Right. Now, listen to me. I believe some of us even have that question. And as I said, it's on the same topic, right? Is it appropriate for couples to schedule... Okay, who has that question? Let me know. You? Marina. Okay. Is it appropriate for couples to schedule days? Days and time.
That day may be my day with my headache, so I don't want to. That may be my headache. Come. So if I have my schedule, it's fine.
Okay, that is fine. Okay. Let me go with another person that has the same question on intimacy, please. Let me ask. Okay, hold on, Sister Josephine. Okay, Sister Rita, go ahead. Yes. Please, can you hear? Listen, it's on the same topic. That's why. Go ahead.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is sex in marriage?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is sex in the marriage? Nadine?
12.
On a scale, please, listen to me. Your time is coming, okay? I promise you. Okay, you're going to ask any questions that you want. Nadine, go ahead for me.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
1 to 10
being the highest, I'll say 10.
You will say 10. Yes. Excellent. Sister Josephine, can you ask your question? Please, louder.
A man doesn't love the wife as Christ loved the church. Should she leave the marriage?
Pastor Anderson, if a man have demonstrated so much the wife that there is no love at all as a wife, is it a good grounds to leave the marriage?
I would say yes. Yes. Because you have demonstrated that it's there.
It's there. Yes. Thank you. Does anybody have any question on intimacy? Intimacy? Okay, Pastor Morrison, go ahead.
What is the church stand at prenuptial agreement?
What is the church stance on prenuptial agreement? Now, prenuptial is mostly, yes, we see them in the celebrities when they are coming into marriage. They have a lot of property, they have a lot of money. They come together and say, okay, if the marriage goes apart down the road, what do you get? What do I have? Do we sell the house? Do we keep this? Do we do that? Right? So the question is it appropriate, or what is the church stance on that? Pastor Rowe.
Now, let me go into this time.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Because
yes, 2 minutes.
Now, I don't know, if you coming together to be married, right? Is that it is because of love, all right? You don't really think of breaking up and separate, and that goes to, it's a unity that you decided, until death. So I believe that you should just come into it, honestly, open-hearted, because naked we came, naked we shall return. Anyway, you can't take anything with you. So, I mean, just comes in with your love, you know, and with the will of God that it is forever. You know, not to be,
Praise the Lord.
you know, yeah.
Amen.
Okay, I have my last thing and I'll be out. And Pastor Stewart will come in. I have about a few people that have questions on finances. Do you have?
Sorry, before you go to the finance part of it, I did wanted to say something on the aspect of intimacy. And I will agree with my bishop there, my brother there, who spoke about the appetite that persons have. Now, one of the things that we need to look at, that there are people who, well, first of all, there's a difference between lovemaking and sex. And so one has to understand that. Lovemaking is when you just love each other and you do your romancing and you're playing, you're petting. You just, there might not be penetration. Sex, for men, sex is spelled differently than for the women. For men, sex spells penetration. I have an erection and I need to put it there. For the women, I say, oh, okay, it's a baby. For the women, sex spells communication, love making, just having a wonderful time. It may or may not involve penetration. So one has to understand that from the initial stage and the difference between sex and making love. In terms of that, there are persons with different levels of sex drive based on their whole build-up. So there's some who might have low sex drive, medium sex drive, or high sex drive. There can be problems, or extra high.
What is that?
Right.
Are you on extra high or what? Sister Alina?
Over rev. Yes.
Please get ready for tonight, okay?
No. Here is where sometimes there are problems. You might find a woman with a low sex drive being married to a man with a high sex drive. She's going to feel pressured when he wants to have sex. She might want to make love or just want to be cuddled and all of those stuff. You talk about playing. I might play too much. So that aspect of it. Now, if it is the reverse, wherein the man has a low sex drive and the woman has a high sex drive, it is going to be problems.
Yes.
In that regard, sometimes the woman might believe that the man is playing out there, when really and truly he can't manage more than 2. She wants 4, 5, 6, maybe 3 for the night, 2, 3 nights a week. And he is just on a low, and he feels that whatever he has done is well satisfactory to him. The woman is still left hanging. In that regard, lovemaking now has the aspect wherein the man's supposed to ensure, if he knows his wife, that in communication, that the woman must be petted and played with until she reaches a climax. If he wants to penetrate, that's fine, but he has to ensure that she reaches a stage, or else he is going to be in trouble.
All right. Yes.
So in terms of this, in terms of this, one has to understand their spouse and the level of their intimacy. What is required when and where, and at what point in time does this person is on a high? Because even a person with a high sex drive may not be on a high at all times. And you might be reading, let's say you have a middle sex drive, which is above the regular what one would consider. You have to know your spouse and to recognize, when do I approach, what communications signs I read,
And sometimes the communication signs doesn't necessarily mean sex.
No.
It may mean cuddling. It may mean petting. It may mean playing. So this is when you really understand your spouse and you're able to deal with what is to be done.
Come on, give it up, give it up, give it up. Okay, Mr. Jalen, I'm coming. Listen to me. Pastor Stewart, this one I want you to deal with it, okay? And do it perfectly, okay? I want you to involve the people more with more on their own questions. Because for sure, we can't finish every question. There's no way we can do it. But we still have forgiveness and finances questions to come, right? Now, before we move that, I'm coming, Charlene, I'm coming.
Look like we're not done with things on the email.
Oh, yes. Charlene, my wife, no, my wife, I don't think I will let you ask. Eh?
No, you let she ask.
Okay, I'm coming. Okay, I'm coming. I have one question on that. Then, okay. Then we will move on to. Then Charlene may become. Tell me, Pastor Rowe. There are some ladies, every time they are tired. Every time they are tired. Pastor Keke. Every time, I'm tired. Yeah. Right? But honestly, it's not pertaining to my wife, to be honest. Well, I'm being honest with you because you know what? The lot of questions, Bishop, let me tell you something, people sitting in the church, they come to church and praise and happy, but trust me, they are suffering in the marriage. Okay? And because of their position and the things they do, they want to go up and the marriage is dying. Bishop, I'm telling you the truth. There are a number of questions that I got from people, and the kind of people I receive the questions from, you won't believe it. You know what I'm saying? I have to scan through to pick some of them. Now, let me tell you something. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. Okay? Moving forward, if you have a problem, come to Bishop.
Yeah.
Fine, you might not trust me, right? Because that's how he's playing, right? Come to Bishop and sit down and deal with it. Because you have a long way to go in the marriage. You know what I'm saying? And you want every checkbox to be ticked right. So listen to me, I am serious about that. What about the women that always tired? Nadine, Pastor Grace, all the time I'm tired. And some of them, right, when they get upset with you, they have to put on some tight jeans. Tight jeans, you know, then to tell you that it will take you a long time to put on tight jeans. But Pastor Stewart, it's your turn right now.
Yes.
Please, involve, as I said, deal with one or two questions from finance, personal finance, that is what Nadine is here, and forgiveness. Let them ask their own questions. If they have to revisit the intimacy, I don't care. But let them ask their own questions. Please answer, and I'm done. Come on, give it up for me. I'm done with it.
I want to say one thing, and this is nice. When I listen to Pastor Rowe and Pastor Henderson, I want to say one thing. This is something that's going to surprise you. I want to say we have to take the car out of the garage, take it off the driveway, and take it down the highway. This marriage business, you have too much park in the garage. You have to take it off the driveway. Take it out of the local road. Put it on the highway. Read into it. Read into it. Marriage people and every young people, read into it. If you have it in the garage, park up. You only have a antique here. Take it off the driveway. Take it out and test it. Take it off the local road. Put it in get it on the highway. Hey, you see what I'm saying? Hey. Come on. That's what I'm saying. If you park it up, you don't know the car is good. Take it out of the garage. Take it out the driveway. Take it out of the local road when you're driving 40, 50, 60. Put it on the highway. Hey! I know you're saying
Can I see from the show of
I think Pastor Fred can be dangerous.
No, but then look at the wife, you know. Now watch the wife, she just like, grin all over here. Before Pastor left, he had a question. I don't think this... Pastor Grace was supposed to answer that question. What about the wife?
Always tired.
So if we're tired,
all the time.
All the time. Well, I know for my husband, when he walks home in the house, he knows from the meal that I'm making if I need something for the night. So that nonverbal communication, then you want something from your wife, you don't have to go out there and go buy nothing.
All right.
Just set the atmosphere.
All right.
Exactly. If she's tired, you'll be good to go.
Exactly.
I have a similar question. So the ladies that lock shop, them not feeling it or whatever, something's not going right for them, so them lock shop. Yes, them lock shop. Anybody know what lock shop means? Lord Jesus. In comparison to it's almost impossible to get there. Yes. So they lock shop on the husband. So rather than, is this a reason for them to go outside and cheat when there is masturbation available? Or should they go out? Since masturbation is sin, should they just go out and get the real deal instead?
No.
Masturbation is
Both
sin.
of them is
Okay, so shop lock on the man.
Take it
Shop lock on the man. What should he do?
Try to get up.
That man would have to just contain himself. No masturbation, nothing like that.
No.
That is sinful.
Yes.
You have nocturnal emission. Is that when the man feel, you know what they call wet dream? It's nocturnal emission, right? When a man is full up and he spill in the night while he's sleeping. Wet up the sheet or wet up the bed. Nocturnal emission, but no masturbation. Yeah, it's sinful.
Thank you, so we all agree on the panel. Anybody else have a question? Okay. Oh, you want to you want?
See, I believe that we have bishops here, and I'm sure what we think we're talking about. The other bishop talked about premarital counseling is important.
It's very, very important.
So important.
Yeah.
And so, please add to it sex therapy.
That's right. Yeah.
And not over sitting here need sex and love-making therapist. Because, you see, I asked a question earlier. Are we making sex a chore? If it's not a task, it's not a chore, it's not a job, some of the questions will not come. And so if I know my partner and I play with my partner very well, there will be a point. How can I hurt my sick partner with sex? I shouldn't.
No. Yeah, sure.
I shouldn't.
Continue, sir.
Are you getting the point? And at the point where the shop is locked, what happened? What was the problem that caused that lock to be on that shop? Find out. So, why is a new lock on your shop?
We're not supposed to have the key.
Why you put on a
You see, Pastor gave a Pauline answer. Pastor said, Paul says, you don't deny your partner, right? And for me, I take that as a very legalistic answer. That is legal. Legal. That's what Paul says. A Christian, you don't deny your partner. Even when it comes to fasting, which is supposed to be spiritual, he says, go for permission.
Yes, get permission from the other party.
So, what has happened? That there's a new lock on your shop. That's what we need to be digging. So, when you find a problem, like Pastor says, you create the atmosphere. All right. When you find the reason why there's a lock on the shop, create the atmosphere. And when you create the atmosphere, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. A married couple were fighting. They had fought, and it's gone on for about 7 days. So the man would not sleep in the bedroom, and the man is now sleeping in the living room because he's right. And the woman says, you may be right, but you see, at this point you are wrong. When it got to the 8th day, the woman moved from the bedroom and came to the living room. We are all adults, right?
Yes.
And he asked the man, I have something with you. I want to talk to my friend with you. And the man said, what friend? I'm not talking with you. He said, no, I'm not talking with you.
That's right.
I'm talking with my friend in there.
That's right.
And so the woman, the man was agitating and says, wait. So he quoted Paul. And he said, listen, we might be fighting, but they are not fighting. So you can fight. You can go on and fight, but they are not fighting.
I think we can go home now, right? Pastor Sabo, I'll not say anything. All right, so as you know, we're opening up the floor for your own question. And of course, you have gotten some time to know the panelists. And you would like to know, you know who you want to answer your question. So shoot. With your own question.
One question.
Yes, Bishop.
If two people have been sanctioned by God to enter into marriage, they enter with true love as God permits. Can that love die? That's my question.
Who would you like to answer, sir?
Whoever feel like answering the question. God has sanctioned it. You pray to God and God choose a partner for you. And say, yes, this is your partner. Can that love die?
Absolutely, yes. Well, apparently, since I have also answered the question on when love dies, it means that the relationship is dead, I will also answer that to say that if God has sanctioned it, it cannot die.
Amen. Amen.
Long and short answer.
Cannot die. Simple.
Well, I totally disagree. And my reason is, God put you together, but there's a work to do. Okay? So what I think is, if you fail, because remember, God won't come and cook for your wife. He won't come and cook for your husband. Marriage, listen, Bishop said something to me in the room before we came, and he showed me the way to go next time, and I love it. And I'm bringing him up to tell you something. He said, I want you to next time when you come, when you choose your topic and you pick your panels, each topic, let them go steady and they will address the issue totally. So at times, the questions will not even come because they have got the answers, right? Yeah. Now, what he said was, you can choose to let somebody talk about how to maintain marriage. So there is a work to be done. And my take is if you fail to do your work, though God has sanctioned it, but it will fail.
All right, may I just follow up with that? Since as you have now gone a bit farther.
Right.
It cannot die in the sense that where there is true love and where God sanctions true love, He gives wisdom as to how to live through that relationship. So therefore, in that regard, God opens up the avenue for communication. He opens up the avenue for things to be in place in the aspect of compromising, in the aspect of understanding, in the aspect of knowing some more about each other. Now, that's what God has sanctioned. So, when there is true love sanctioned by God, He gives the wisdom as to how to live through it in terms of what to do, in terms of prayer, in terms of all the elements that are necessary to keep that marriage.
I also want to add to that. So I definitely agree with what you said, that God will give you all the provision to make sure your marriage succeeds. But you also have a will. God will also have our own personal will that is there. God may give you something. This marriage, the marriage may come from God, but you have the will to either make it work or not to make it work. All those things will be there in place, but it's up to you to know what am I listening to God, because God will not force you to it. He's going to provide. He will give you the provision, but He will not force you. You have to make the choice.
Yes, I just want to add this with the talent. With the talent, God gave one 5, and He gave one 2, and He gave one 1. You see what the one do with the one? One went out and he get 2 more. The other one went and he get 5 more. The other one, though he had the same marriage, he didn't work on it. He come back with the one, it's dead.
Thank you very much.
I think he almost took off for, forgive me, relationship.
Yes.
Every relationship has a human factor that plays. And when the human factor, the container, bursts,
my God,
whatever spirit in it leaves.
Leave. Don't damage it.
It goes away. Remember Saul. King Saul was the first king of Israel. So it was God who deliberately chose King Saul. And after God choosing him,
disobedient.
You remember what God told Samuel? After he messing it up, Samuel the prophet was trying to work it. God warned someone and told Samuel, why are you still with him?
Don't pray.
If you don't play your role, the Holy Spirit is never going to play yours for you.
All right.
Remember what God said. What God has joined together, meaning you, the man or the woman, can put it asunder.
Don't break it.
That is, God did not say, what I have joined together, it cannot be put asunder. He said, let no man. That means a man or a woman can put it asunder. But it does not mean the love is dead. It might have been taken from that area. You see, you play with a good man. You toy with a good woman. Hurt the woman or hurt the man. And you think the guy is a waste. God will take what you messed up with and give it to somebody you think does not measure up. And that's what we need to think about. Some of us are praying about our marriages. And I say, you don't have to pray. Go and work.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Awesome.
It doesn't matter. Let me say, it doesn't matter how healthy a plant is.
You have to water it.
You put it in the soil, and And you don't mention it, you must die. You must die.
You get it everything, but you can kill it.
Thank you. You got Pastor George,
Right.
and then we get to you.
Also, Pastor Anderson, if God should give you all this provision, how can you mature in your marriage in the first place? There's never going to be any form of maturity. Because if Adam was placed in the garden and God told him to stay there, relax, and not work, how could he maintain it? So we all have, if you are in marriage, you're supposed to work. If Paul plant, Apollo must water. So that the blessings will come from the Lord. Thank you.
All right. Sister Shakira, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm loud. So it's the same thing why a lot of couples that are married, especially in church, they stay in relationships where they're miserable. And the love was there in the beginning, but then when it went, you know, as Bishop said a while ago, you have a good woman or a good man, and then you take advantage of them, and then eventually the love dies. But because of public view and peer pressure, you know, oh, I can't leave the marriage because what are people going to say? And a lot of the times you rob each other of happiness because that person could be happy with somebody else. And then you stay in a toxic relationship, and how are you going to even serve God wholeheartedly if you are miserable at home? So I don't agree with divorce. I think you should exhaust every possible thing, everything that you can do, you work on your marriage. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just need to move on.
It's dead.
Sometimes it's dead. The plant is dead.
Can I ask something, please? Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead. Can you stand?
Yes.
Here.
No, I don't need it. It's all right. When I was doing marriage counseling.
Take it.
I was in a marriage. Oh, you need to put it. Okay. Some years ago, my wife and myself were in a marriage class, and we learned about covenant. And part of the covenant they covered was that when that covenant is important, and you're not supposed to forsake the covenant, you make a covenant. And no matter what you're going through in marriage, you make a covenant. They gave us an example. They said when Joshua went into the promised land, when the Gibeonites came, they came disguised. They were disguised.
Yes.
And instead of seeking God, he made a covenant with them without seeking God. That's what he did. No, God said he has to honor the covenant because you make a covenant. Saul broke the covenant and killed some Gibeonites.
Yes.
There were 3 years of famine. And David because of what he did. And David seeked the Lord and asked him, why is the famine here? And God told him, because Saul broke the covenant. And the only way they could solve it was that they had to allow the Gibeonites to go and kill Saul's family. That is how Mephibosheth got hurt. Yes. Right? Okay. So I'm asking now, you're saying that you mustn't stay in the marriage if the marriage is given properly. But if you make a covenant, how would you deal with it based on what I'm asking? I'm just asking.
It's not about...
No, I'm just asking. Based on what I just said.
Let
Based on the covenant. Now, every covenant has 2 parts.
Yeah, 2 parts.
Yeah.
Somebody have to do something.
Every covenant.
Yes.
Now, in the marriage covenant, it's based on mutuality. It's based on respect. But there's something in a covenant that we lose sight of. Every covenant is watered.
Say that again.
Supported.
Every covenant is watered.
Yeah.
Let's build it. Let's build it. You see, I'm African. And in the African context, every covenant, like the Jews, is sealed with blood.
All right.
In Isaiah, the Bible says that the life of a thing is in the blood.
Yes.
So once you seal it,
By blood.
it is difficult to break. But there are always avenues of breaking. That is why God always comes back to the Jews, comes back to the Israelites. He told Abraham something. You remember he told Abraham something?
Yes.
But you see, whenever the Jews broke the covenant,
Yes. Yes.
the very moment that covenant is broken, it activates another thing.
Yes. A response.
Are you getting the point?
Yes.
The very moment you break your side of it, some other side is activated.
Yes. Because the covenant.
I need to respect my wife. Paul gives a good picture. Man, love your wife. Woman, respect your husband. Now, once one of that leg, two-leg covenant is broken,
Yes. Love
you
or respect.
automatically activate an invasion of the other. You don't respect the man. The man can love you till a point. When that respect is not redeemed, it gets to a point.
That love is broken.
Because one part of the covenant is broken.
This is deep.
You see, when the man does not love the respectful wife, it gets to a point the respectful wife now changes into something else. Because one part of that covenant is broken.
All right.
Can we say John chapter 3 verse 16?
For God so loved.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. But you see, it doesn't end there. There's another part. Whoever believes, the love is open, it's unconditional, it is there. But if you do not believe in it,
you have to come
you will perish. It is simple and straightforward.
Wow, I love this.
And so let us not say we are Christians and our marriages are in church and we don't do our part of the covenant. Or we disrespect, disregard, flout our part of the covenant. Whosoever.
Yes.
Like I said earlier, go back and work.
All right.
Listen, Pastor Stafford have to resurface, eh? Listen, because believe me, like as we're doing it, believe you me, okay, there are people that have these questions. I want them to raise their hands, okay? And I want you to read it, okay, so they will know exactly what we do. Because there are some questions I can't just live without them asking those questions, right? Okay. So please, if you have those questions, as soon as I start reading, lift up your hands. Your son is 24 years old. Your son is 24 years old. Please check your question and let me know who's that. Okay. Please, Claudia, read those questions and please, anybody can answer. It's very important. Now, there is a pastor, okay, another question, a pastor of about 5,000 congregation. You have it? Who has it? Joy. Okay, Joy, you go next. Please, these questions are very important. And it's for the singles and people that are yet to go into marriage. Please, go ahead.
Your son is 24 years old and he seriously wants to marry to a 50-year-old woman. Will you permit him to go ahead?
Okay, so your son.
There's a part two. So if the answer is yes, what if you end up not having a child? If your answer is no, why don't you believe that God can do as he did to Sarah?
Okay. So listen, imagine you were a pastor and you are counseling your son in the church to go get married. The boy is 24 years old. He came to you with a 50-year-old to get married. 50 years. 50 years, Bishop. Yes. 50 years. Your son is 24 years old, right? Now, the question is, Pastor Grace, I'm coming to you. The question is, will you permit him to go ahead with the marriage? Number one. If your answer is yes, what if he ended up don't have a child with that 50-year-old, right? And if the answer now, if you want a typical example, is the French president, Macron, and the wife, right? Macron is about 40 something, the wife is almost about 70 years. If your answer is no, Pastor KK, not your answer, but Pastor Grace. If your answer is no, why don't you believe that if Sarah was 90 and was able to give birth, he can marry a 15-year-old and they will have children, right? Pastor Grace, imagine you are in that position. Pastor Grace, imagine you are in that position, counseling that child, that son who came to you, that I want to get married to a 50-year-old. Imagine your son. What's your son's name again?
Darius.
Darius, right.
Well, I want more than one grandchild.
So I would want more than one child, but then again, it's not my decision, right? Because it's his decision. He is 24 years old. He does have the right. However, I am going to pray that God, please let another woman come by. I mean, if it's not, I don't know. I'm not okay with that. And I can't say, and I would never be able to give him my blessing. Because I would not be okay with that. And so I have to be very authentic to say, you know what? It's your decision, but I'm not okay with that. I do want to have a lot of grandchildren. So, and I do believe that God is powerful and anything that we ask, it can be done because nothing is impossible with him. However, wisdom is also needed in this.
Please, one more, and Rosie, I'll be out of your way, okay? Bishop, please. The same instant, okay, Sam, listen, today you haven't talked. The same instant, a pastor counseling a member who is getting married to a Muslim. Please, who has that question? Who has that? Okay. Please get it, and I want you to read clearly. The reason of he getting to marry a Muslim is that so many times people have disappointed him or her in the same faith. In the same faith, multiple times, men or women have disappointed him or her. And he or she have found a love, and the person happens to be a Muslim.
Okay, take it away.
No, wait a second. Brother Sam, just your literal thinking of, as a father, what will you do? Let me tell you something. You are a pastor now, okay? You are a pastor now. Your son came to you and said, I'm married to a lady and she's a Muslim. And I'm doing that because I found love. Previously I've been hurt by people in the same church multiple times. So what advice will you give it to that person?
I believe, first of all, I'll let you understand what you are getting yourself involved. Your faith is more important. Your salvation is more important. That being said, it is his will to go whatever direction he wants to go. Who knows, but maybe him going there will be able to win other people and bring them to Christ. But I will advise you what you are getting yourself involved. Now, I have the choice to say whatever I want to say, but it's up to him to listen. It's just like the same way we work our Christian work today. The scripture says a lot, but it's not everything that we put into practice, right? So I will advise you your faith and the faith you are getting yourself involved. That the choice is yours, and who knows which direction that God wants to take you and what God wants to do in that area of your life.
Rosie, we have 15 minutes, okay?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Pastor Ro have to leave by 9.
Oh, like so Nadine. All right, I remember I had a boss once, right? That she advised me that even though I'm married and I have a joint account, I should have one for myself.
Dangerous.
Is that a good idea for the marriage?
Personally, no. I don't advise upon having your own personal account because I look at it this way. If you marry someone, if you're willing to give them your body, then what is a bank account? What is money? So having your own personal account really does not make sense. It's better to have a joint account, but both of you must be educated in finance. But that's what the problem is. A lot of people are not educated in finance. Either one partner could be abusing the finances that they spend more. So by them spending more, at the end of the month, they happen to find themselves in a lot of debt. They cannot pay the bills. So it's not about you having your own personal account, but it's having a joint account that will work for both of you. And you actually having, I always advise my client, have an or account. Whenever you open an account, you don't have an option to choose an and, pretty much you and the other person, or you can have an option to open an or account. If trust is the issue, still have it joint, but it's an and. Every time you come to the bank, if the account is joint, they will require both of you to sign on it. So either you like it or not, neither one of you will ever be able to withdraw those funds.
Okay, Sister Nadia. Okay. Please. I have a question in here. I said, listen, we prep ourselves, but because of time, okay? I have a question in here where a lady in a marriage, I can't remember, about 10 years in the marriage. Now, 5 years down the road, the lady gave her life to Christ. The man still unbeliever, right? The man does not believe anything to do with church. He thinks that church is a scam. Okay? They have joint accounts. Everything is joint. He doesn't allow the lady to take money and bring it as a tithe. Offering, no. The lady asked that I want to be obedient to the Lord by paying my tithe and my offering. My husband said no. What should I do?
The way I'm going to answer that is this. At the end of the day, yes, we have to pay a tithe, which is important. It's part of the Bible. We have to respect that. But that same God also tells us to obey our husband. Our husband is the head of the family. So at the end of the day, you also, as a Christian woman, you have to know what is right. The first thing that she did right was being saved, changing and believing in God. That is number one. Because at the end of the day, God is more interested in our salvation than in our money. Yes, it's good to give. But personally, I don't think, because think about it this way. All this blessing that you've been blessed when you never used to pay your tithe. Would you think if you don't pay money, God is not going to bless you? God will bless us regardless. But yes, it is a principle in the Bible to pay our tithe, and I encourage that. But your husband is the head of the family, and God is not a God that will contradict himself. Exactly. God is a God of order, and we have to listen to our husband first and do what is right to have peace in the home. And as a Christian woman, if you can pray and be able to convince your husband to also believe your faith, eventually you'll be able to pay the tithe.
I would, just before you take the next question, I would then ask my fellow panelists, what if it is the reverse? Same marriage, same couple, the man is now, say, 5 years down the line.
The man is still the head of the house.
No, but let's...
Yeah.
The man is still the head of the house.
But
Hold on a minute. No, but...
He can pay
but
his
he's
guy.
still the man is still... Respect.
I see what she means. So what she's saying that the man is the head of the house. So if he decides to pay the tithe, even though the woman,
the lady have to allow him.
The woman will still have to allow it.
Yes.
Yeah, because
you have to understand, to me, the oil in the family falls from the head. Yes. Everything starts from the top. If we're going to have peace in the house, but God does not want us to be fighting. No. There's no need for you to bring tithe in the house of God in this argument. But at the same time, as a woman, if you know that this issue is going to bring problem in my home, let the man pay the tithe.
All right.
Wow. Praise the Lord.
Wow.
Really, I don't believe in joint accounts. I don't believe in it. It's true. I am a giver. My husband is an extraordinary giver too. We don't have much. Most time I work and God said that money is not yours. He will say, keep it. I will tell you who to give it to. Immediately I sow it, I receive more.
All right.
My husband does that. My husband sponsors people. There are some people he helps I don't know of. There are some people God will say, do this thing for. I will not, most time I hesitate. If I keep joint account, we'll keep on asking each other, please, can I help this? Can I help that? Can I help this one? Do you understand me now? That is one thing I don't support. Right from day one, we don't agree to it. He didn't even bring it up. I didn't bring it up. Because I am a giver. I give to extend. And I know I'm always blessed when I give. And my husband do that also. If we have joint account, we will always have problem. I know every month I should. It's true. Because if I give someone something, and I keep on asking him, please, I want to bless this one. And I keep on, that is not what God said. If I'm doing something for you, another eyes, another ears must not hear it. If you keep joint account, you keep on asking him, can I do this? Can I do that? Like Pastor Sako said 3 days ago. He said, so that someone asked for money and you are contemplating with yourself. It is true. Because I know the God give this. I did it. This guy asked me again. I was saying, I don't want to do it. But Pastor Sako said, when I got my car, I texted someone and said, please, transfer some money to someone. If I am keeping joint account, I have to be asking my husband, please, God said I should bless this man. God said I should bless this woman.
So I definitely hear what you're saying. But at the end of the day, a marriage is unity. You have to understand that part. It's both of you. And you say that you are giving, you will be blessed. Whether you being blessed or he's the one being blessed, that blessing is coming to your home. So it doesn't really matter who gives what. What I'm saying is, why is it good for it to be joint? Is that you will know how much income is coming to your home. And when that income is coming to your home, you'll have a budget. Yes, we don't always live by our budget. Yes, when it comes to giving, because God can touch your heart, also can vice versa. He can also touch your husband's heart to give. But both of you have to be in unity, in communion, in giving. And if there is peace, if there's trust between you, both of you, there should not be any issue on who's giving what to whom. It's all about how you communicate, how you understand, and what is the trust. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. When there is no trust, that is one of the reasons why most people feel like, I want to open my account, I want to do my thing. It is not about mine, it is about us.
Thank you.
Yes. I just want to say something concerning joint account. You can also have a joint account and one person sign. Me and my wife, we have a joint account. And she can go to the bank, take anything she wants. Anytime, every time. Doesn't matter. And when I go, I do the same thing. You see, you have to know what's going to work, in a marriage. So for her, though we have a joint, she knows where my insurance, my pennies, my dollars, my cent, to the tune of the zero. Everything is open. You understand? Nothing is hidden, so that you have full access. It's best like that, and that's why we're married for going 36 years. So
and in that case, you should bring what they have is what you consider an or account. So the account is joint. Either party can take the money at any time, which is really good because should one person pass away, that is usually because if you have a joint account and you somebody if it's joint and something happens, you may not have access to it because we're going to require both signature. So sometimes it's good, yes. In most cases, if you have a healthy relationship, have an or account. But because when you have just a joint account, anything happens, you happen to be sick or anything like that, your spouse, your children will never have access to that account. And then if you want them to have it, they need to have power of attorney. But one thing you have to understand, with a power of attorney, should anything happen to you when you're in the hospital, you pass away, power of attorney becomes zero. A will kicks in. And once a will kicks in, we have to open an estate account. And any check paid in the estate off, it will never be cash. Now your family, your husband, your children are going around, going to court, trying to get approved a certificate for them to allow it, which is going to cost them hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. I had a client last year. The wife passed away. They had over $100,000 in insurance. By the time everything was done, the man was only left with $58,000. With that $58,000, I could not cash that check. And he has funeral arrangement. He has stuff that needs to be paid. I could not cash that check for him. Why? Because the check was paid to the wife, and the wife is not there anymore. So it's you have to be very careful whenever you're opening the account. Yes, try to balance both. That's what I'm saying, that a lot of people are not educated when it comes to finances. We're making a decision based on what we feel or what suits at the present situation. But anything happens, power of attorney is 0, and a lot of people do not have a will. No power of attorney, no will. You're going to have cash, and you're going to have checks, and bills that needs to be paid, and there's no way for you to get that money, or it takes years.
Okay, listen.
Thank you for your hands together for that.
Listen, whoever has a question, let me know.
Pastor Petra.
Okay,
Pastor Petra, go ahead.
cool. Okay, Petra, go ahead, quick. Pastor Ray, Pastor Ray, 1 minute, okay?
As a single woman, say I have an account with X amount of money in it, and I'm about to get married, but I have a different account with maybe not so much money in there. Should I disclose that other account that I have saved all my savings? And should I disclose that account and join that account with that person that I'm getting married? Or should I leave that account and
Okay.
the other?
Minister Petra, I'm not a finance expert, but based on what Sister Nadine said, 2 people come together, everything has to be open. Right? So I believe that if you truly is going into the marriage for real, you have to let
communication
everything.
No prenuptial agreement.
Hold on, Charlene.
Can we listen to what Sister Nadine has to say? Let me just.
Can we listen to what Sister Nadine has to say on this, in the sense that she asked a very valid question, in the sense that there can be a family before this new family, which involve X amount of money. So therefore, let's say there are children before this new family, this new marriage. There are some things that are tied up with those children. How then will it work with the new marriage?
Well, if you already had an account, previously you already had money in that account. Now you want to open a new account with your new spouse. Now that's something that you want to talk about it right from the beginning and see if you want to make it joint. If you want to join the other person to it, you just come in, you book an appointment, we will join them into the account. But one thing you have to keep in mind, they become 100% entitled to that money. So if they become 100%, they'll have the right, the legal right, to take money out of that account and do whatever they want to do with it. They can withdraw everything from it, even if you come, yes. Even if you come and say, that was my account, there is nothing we can do about it. So you have to be really, really careful. Is that what you want to do? Wow. Because if you leave that account also like that, nobody's using it, it does go dormant. And once an account goes dormant for so many years, after 2 years, we will send you a letter. If that account remains dormant, we have to send it to Bank of Canada. When it goes to Bank of Canada, you have to deal with them. Even though your account may be with RBC, we will not be able to get you that money. You have to deal with them directly. So you have to make sure, do I want to join it? If you do, you have to understand the other partner has 100% legal right to that money.
I love this. My wife, you hear? Me and you are one. You hear? Shakira, I'm learning today. Listen.
No matter where the money is, it can belong to you.
Listen. Charlene, if I don't let Charlene ask this question, I tell you I'll be in trouble. But listen to me. Our time is important, okay? We cannot answer. Believe you me, I gave you the envelope, but I couldn't even let you ask the question. But bear with me. You understand what I'm saying? We are working with time. And I believe this time it has been more quiet, more civil, more information being attained today. You understand? So please. we thank you for coming. Don't get upset with Pastor Salvo, but Charlene, come here if the mic is not working. Come here quick, because believe me, she's been asking me for a long time, and this will be the last question. And listen, we done. No, Pastor George, no more.
Because I've never heard this before, so I want the answer.
Right.
A lot of churches of late recommends young people who wants to go into marriage to do blood and AIDS tests before sanctioning their marriage with the sole purpose of avoiding sickness. What's your take?
Yes. And believe me, like with me, with some few pastors I know here back home, they do all the time, right? So if you are in if you are in the church, and especially even if both of them are members, right? Or you bring the boy from outside or the girl from outside, the pastors, before they will sanction your marriage, they will let you do a blast test to make sure that if you are blood A or blood B, that you don't mix up to have a baby that will be a disabled child. It happens all the time. Some of them, you do AIDS tests. Believe you me, they will do AIDS tests. Unfortunately, if you have AIDS, the marriage, he won't sanction. Right? Yeah. Now, believe me, I've seen so many. So to me, it's not something that I'm surprised. But I was wondering, I didn't do any AIDS test. No blood test. And my sons are fine, Shakira. You understand? If you are a pastor, what is your take on this? Quick, please. And this will be our last. Petra, please bring the gift presentation so we do right away.
Yes, I'm a pastor. But I rather say sometimes we put some issues in the wrong domain. In the wrong domain. The issue or the reasons for asking for blood tests on other issues. I don't know about here, but in United Kingdom and in Ghana that I know, it is not meant to stall the relationship. It is meant for the partners to know their status and take a decision. We are rather scaring people. You go to United Kingdom now, and if you have HIV and AIDS, it's no issue. It's like you have headache and you are giving Tylenol. Because the antiretroviral drugs is so active. Myself, I know an HIV positive lady who is married to a Ghanaian. Now you count, there's something called CD4 count in HIV. That is where the blood, whatever issues in it. When the person has taken the antiretroviral drug for a while, you may even do a test and you may not find it. Wow. I know a man, a Ugandan priest, who has had HIV. The last time I counted, he's had HIV. By the way, HIV, not all HIVs are AIDS. But he has had HIV and AIDS for the past 30 years. Maybe more. When I saw him in London in 2010, he had HIV and AIDS for 24 years. His first wife died, and that's how come he found out. Now, he is married. He is giving birth to 4 kids, and none of them have. So, HIV and AIDS, if a pastor uses that as an issue to annul a relationship, I would say that pastor is doing a disservice. By the way, a counselor does not give advice. A counselor provokes issues and leads the people to the place. And so if anybody has come out to say, because you have this, you cannot do that, that person is quack, leave. No, that's not a professional counselor. No counselor advises. Every counselor opens up the issue, leads you to what scripture says. If I love somebody, I'm sickle cell, and I love a sickle cell person, who am I? Have you forgotten what God has joined together? Let no man put us under.
Come on, give a big clap. Give a big clap. Okay, so you're going to speak, so my mic's going to pick up, okay? Please, this question is the last one, please, and it's going to Pastor Anderson, okay? Please, you'll be the only person weighing in. Pastor Petra, please bring my presentation gifts quick. And please, there's a refreshment, okay? Please relax. Now, what I want us to do, please, Joy or my wife, do me a favor. As they are walking in to the banquet hall, I want somebody to stand there because we just want a big time, okay? Stand on the door first before they enter in and give them the raffle ticket because I have a surprise for somebody to walk in here, okay? Wonderful. Okay? Please read it and my mic will pick up. Please, Pastor Anderson, you'll be the only person weighing in, and I want you to see yourself as being the pastor or the counselor, whatever, okay? Please go ahead.
During a counseling session with your youth pastor who is preparing to get married, you found out that the lady in question had 5 children with 5 different men. She is a believer and both seems to be in love. Will you advise him to go ahead?
During a counseling section with your youth pastor, you came to understand that the lady in question have 5 kids with 5 different men. Though at that point she is a believer, will you advise your youth pastor to go marry that lady?
Okay, all right. It's a bit,
this was a good one, eh?
Yeah, it's a bit deep. But let's look at the aspect of it. It has a few components to it. One, at what point in time was she living this kind of life? And I don't want to say she used to live a promiscuous life. Because sometimes a woman is in a relationship, she gets pregnant, she leaves the relationship because that one wasn't working out and she moves to another one to get help. And so probably based on promises made to her, she moves and it's like things are not working until she eventually may have gotten a grip of her life. So,
God save her now, remember.
Right. Yeah, no, that's one thing that has a few components. So that may have been her case prior to being saved. Now she is now saved and she has turned her life around and she has a steady focus on life, and in this aspect God has spoken to her, and my youth pastor is now saying, I want to marry her. If it is in the case that she had hid all of this prior to, then that would like deception. But if it is in the case of the courtship leading up to the marriage, it was open, and he knew from the initial stage, then I would have given them my blessings, because she is now a new creature now, or a new creation rather. The thing about it is that I'm not going to judge her from her past life, because whether her sins were 10 or 5, comparing to even some persons who are in church whose sins are 2 but are not known, she has made a turnaround on her life. And in that regard, I would take it from where she is at present and would have given them my blessing.
Come on, give God a big clap. Give God. Listen, we want to thank everybody. Pastor John gave me a question that I didn't put it in, but it came to mind, and as I was writing, he said, Pastor, think about it. You are getting married, or somebody getting married, a man getting married to a lady, and you find out that the lady is an ISIS recruiter. Bishop, ISIS. Bishop, tell me the truth. Listen to me. I just want to thank God for tonight. ISIS, Pastor Morrison, Osama bin Laden. Anyways, listen to me. Regardless of how this has been, I think it has been a great night. Right? Come on, give God a big clap. Each and every one. Pastor Pedro, can you come on in? Please, quick. Listen, panels, we just want to say thank you.
For having us.
Believe me, it's been an awesome night, right? Bishop, do the first presentation for me. Sister Nadine, can you come, please? And you can take your staff with you if you have any. If not, then come, please. This is for Sister Nadine. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. From Digging Deep. Okay? God bless you. Come on. Bishop, this is for Pastor Anderson. Yes, I love this one, I tell you. No, it's not Walmart card. No, we won't say it, but it's not Walmart card. Walmart card was only for Shani, right? This is for Pastor Grace. Oh, come on, give her a big clap for our friend. And this is for Pastor French. Oh, come on, give it up. This thing, don't go yet.
For Pastor Frank?
For Pastor Frank.
I love Walmart card. This is
Pastor Shani.
Shani? Hey, I love Walmart card. I want to come.
And this is for Pastor KK. Listen, God bless you. Come on. Listen, let us all stand. Let us all stand. Please, let us all stand. Hold somebody's hand. Hold somebody's hand. We give you all. Please hold somebody's hand. The glory. Oh, we worship you. Oh, you are worthy to be praised. Pastor John, bring me Prophet Concert flyer quick, please. Hurry up. Go on. The Lord.